G'day, we're going to do a ramp start, quick ramp start tutorial. So, how about one of your buddies? Let's get this bloody cockpit closed so we can hear ourselves. Okay, so we just shut the cockpit and locked it with the spider. So, also let's just right click on this lever here and arm the seat. Now, we need to power up the jet. Battery switch on from off to main. We'll flick it through one more position to power, and just make sure that the fuel feed is on norm, which in this case it's already there. IFF to standby, anti-collision lights to on, position 1 where the flight leads, so we're going to have that on 1. Standby, these both go up, and we'll switch this on to norm. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's just start the jet fuel starter. Actually, before we do that, let's just make sure our air source is on norm, and yeah, right click on the jet fuel starter, start this jet up, and while we're waiting for the RPM percent to get to 25%, that's that first green line, we'll power on a few things here. So let's put on the ECM consent, ILS, the volume controls for the missile threat, VHF volume control, UHF volume control, radio to both, switch the backup radio from the off backup position to the up front control. It's pretty much on that side. Park and brake on, landing lights to landing. Over on the right hand side we want the INS to norm, and all these avionics switches just flip up. They control various systems. Oxygen on, anti-ice to auto, left and right hard points, FCR on, radar altimeter on to standby, and with DD I normally have these up, it's just a preference. Both those switches. This is the radar altimeter on the HUD, and the panel light I normally have there. Okay, so we're up to 25%, which is where you want to be, and so we're now ready to release the idle detent. So this lever here should be a hot spot there. Just click on that and move the throttle to about 75% of throttle. It should go up to, just keep climbing. When it gets to 40%, we want to bring that throttle back to idle. Okay, and it should keep climbing. And monitor that. Check to see your warning lights are going out. There we go. Oxygen low. They're all going out, which is a good sign. Alright, so if you get warning lights on here, you're probably going to get a hot start or a cold, just a problem. So you may have to start again. Okay, so that looks good. Let's put on the radar threat or threat warning auxiliary. That's this power button here. That puts the FCR, the RWR on. Clear the master caution by hitting that switch there. Put on the HUD, just this thumb wheel, and normally if we had a TGP mounted I'd be trying to power that up straight away, but we don't have one, so we don't have to worry about it today. So what we need to do is we need to clear some of these faults here. So we do that by going to the test page and hit clear. It's cleared a lot of them, not all of them. Okay, so we've got flight control, FLCS, stands for flight control system. So we need to reset the flight control system. Then we need to clear the faults, and that should sort that out. Now we've got an IFF fault there, but I think that's because we're in standby. So we'll just ignore that for now. Let's go to return, and we can see we've got defaults 6 and 13. That tells me that the data cartridge is not loaded, so we need to do that. click on HD. We're looking for this DTE button. That's the data cartridge loadout page. So, and hit load. And you should see these change once it goes all the way down, does all its checks and loads data into the jet. You'll see that change. There we go. Things are starting to work. Okay. So that's an indicator that your data cartridge is loaded. Its data. Alright, so with the HSD, I'd like to have these two switches enabled. What they do is center it and also connects the HSD to the FCR. So you'll see later why we do that. At the moment the FCR is powering up. It's about 42 seconds away from initialization. So we'll just let it run. We can see all of our warning lights have cleared now. So that's a pretty good sign that everything is working okay. So I've just got to remember to turn the IFF on once we taxi. Okay, so the search button needs to be on. This one here. Park and brake. Put that back on. Let's power up this electronic control measure panel. So RWR should be on. Jammer could be on or off. It doesn't matter. It just depends on how you operate. But I'll just switch it on. MWS is on. This one here can go to standby, but I normally, once I'm up, up and airborne, I'll switch this to manual. Let's see, we just drops one flare at a time instead of wasting them. Okay, so helmet mounted queuing system on. So when you move, that should be on. There you go. FCR is powered up now, so we can hit CRM. I'm the flight lead because I'm on my own, and so I'm going to hit continuous. I'll do a left click, mic switch left to get that activated. And let's test our IFF out. So let's move that to norm.
Lion 4, taxi, Alpha, and hold short, runway 36.
I want to set this to M4 and do a TMS left to start the scan.
Lion 4 taxiing.
Alright, looking good. Okay, so I want to set the air-to-air mode. Now we see a flashing light here, a line. That tells me that the INS is aligned. So I can flick that to change that to nav, and that shows, you can now see the flight path on the HSD. Okay, so that's looking good. Because we're only carrying air-to-air missiles today, a couple of them, we can set the air-to-air mode. Let's put on the master arm. Turn the volume down a bit, it's a bit noisy. And there's no TGP, so I don't have to worry about that. SMS, nothing to worry about there. Just set the defaults. And that's fine. Air to ground, we don't need to worry about that too much either. So let's just leave that one off. So we're just going to take off and land anyway, so something simple. Okay, so I reckon now we need to do a few list controls here. Let's get list 08 for the bullseye, enter, and hit return. And then we want to do list 05. This, if you were doing an air to ground mission, you'd want to put your laser codes in here. Okay, just dobber up and type in whatever it is, 1511 or 1512, whatever your flight lead gives you. And then you also need to set the that combat laser. Okay, so you just make sure the stars, the asterisks are there, and then hit any key, and it'll change it from training to combat. Okay, so we're not worrying about that today because we're just flying and just doing a landing and takeoff and landing exercise. All right, so that looks all right. We're at Kunsan Air Base, so the TAC end
Lion
is
4-1,
incorrect.
contact
So
tower
we need to
for
change
takeoff.
that.
Switch
So you can see it's channel 94. We
29230.
need to change that to 75 because we're at Kunsan. 75, enter, and we also need to change the frequency. So let's move that down to there and enter a frequency of 11030. So 11030, enter. So what that does is it puts the decimal point in for you. Okay, so if we want to know what the course heading should be for this exercise, I'm probably going to base it on the landing runway heading. So let's go T, 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 and oops, that's
Goblin 2-1,
takeoff.
Kunasan, runway 36 for takeoff.
So it's 360. Or is it 360? I'll have to check my chart. So when you're flying out of airbase, you really want to have charts printed on the side there for you, so you can refer to them when you need to. So takeoff will be 360, which is really a heading of 356 degrees. Okay, so let's see what the landing runway is. Active landing runway.
Goblin
Same
2-1,
one.
Kunasan,
Okay.
runway
So
36
we're
for
gonna set
landing.
the heading to 356. Six, enter, and hit return. Now we don't have any other jets in the flight, so I'm not going to worry about the yardstick. We'll cover that in another shoot. Okay, the other thing we need to check is the QNH. So by default it's 2991, but so it'll probably be the same. But we'll see what it is. Request 1, request QNH,
Goblin 2-1,
2984.
Kunasan,
Okay, so it's slightly up.
29884.
Let's go down to 2984. Okay. Also in the HSO, I'm going to set the course heading to 356. And that should be it. So we've pretty much done the ramp start. We're ready to actually take off. So we're going to flip the radar altimeter on. Laser arm off. Leave that off because we're not doing anything there. Oh, the last thing we need to do is important is put the diamond float on up here. Just click that on once. You can do your tests. Right. Test the RWR out, that's fine. There's a lot of tests I've missed out, but it doesn't matter. I'm just, just showing you how to get the jet up as quickly as you can. So this has probably taken about, I don't know, probably 10 minutes with all the talking. But normally I can get this done in about 6 minutes. Okay, if you really want to be fast, no talking, yeah, you should better get yourself airborne within 6 minutes, which is not bad. Alright, so we're going to do a call to the tower, T3.
Good morning, Goblin 2. You are number 2 for departure. Taxi, Papa,
Yep.
Alpha,
So
and hold,
we'll
short,
do the
runway
chocks.
36.
Nose wheel steering on, and let's get out of here. So we're going to go left. I think this is the right direction. So if we want to know where the runway is, let's have a look. Where are we? Oop, I'm upside down. Yeah, 36. We're heading the right direction, so that's fine. Okay, so when we do T3, the ATC puts us in a queue for takeoff and landing queue, and you just have to listen to the call. So when you get close to the holding lines here, it'll trip response from the ATC.
Goblin,
There.
2-1, contact tower for takeoff. Switch to 9230.
So he's telling us to switch to this frequency here, 29230, but all I've got to do is change the preset from 2 to 3. So let's go here, that gives you 3, and then I can do the second command, which is to tell him that I'm ready for departure.
Goblin 2, hold short.
Yep. Okay, so you give him a second call, ready for departure, and you should give us permission to take off. You don't sit there and wait. You can if you want.
2, Busan South, Wayne 320.
Just give them a second call and they'll respond
36.
pretty much
You're cleared for
immediately.
takeoff.
Okay, so we can now got permission to move on to the runway. So let's line it up down the setter. And brakes on. Do our final checks. Make sure your IFF is on. Radar altimeter is on from off standby to on. It's all working. Okay, we're ready to take off. So, rolling. So we want to get our airspeed, our ground speed up to around about 140. From about 140 on, you want to start pulling back on the stick, so we can do that now. Just gently. Hit G for the landing gear. You can see that going up. They lock into place. Everything looks good.
Goblin 2-1, contact departure.
Okay, so we contact departure. We need to change preset 4. It's the departure channel. And I'm going to use my voice attack to say report airborne. Report airborne.
Goblin, 2, Busan, departure. Fly heading 355. Do zoom on navigation. Goblin, 2-1.
So we'll back off the afterburners. We're heading to step point 3. So yeah, that's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We want to set our, now we're airborne and we want to switch to Tactical 6, which is the AWAC channel. So let's do that. Now we can actually do calls to the AWAC if there's one around. There isn't one. So at the moment I'm doing the step points by manual. So I'll just change step point 3, but we'll do this automatically. So click on step point and then sequence and return. Okay, so now it's auto. The step points are set to auto. That means that once we get to step point 3, it should automatically switch to step point 4 and so on. So we can completely fly the jet with autopilot. In autopilot, we've got our roll control set to step point selector, and we've got our altitude. So we're holding the altitude. This one is up instead of in the middle. In the middle is off. Altitude hold is up, and if we wanted to say go nose up 20 degrees, you'd switch the other way to attitude hold, and it will maintain the nose at the the angle that you've got the FPR. So very handy. You'll get used to using autopilot a lot, especially when you're flying from airbase, say, to the objective and on the way home maybe. So yeah, it's a really good idea to map these on your HOTAS I've got them mapped on my Warthog, so I can flip them off and on pretty quickly and do what I want to do. Okay, but just get used to autopilot, you'll use it a lot. So we're coming up to step point 3. It's now going to automatically switch to step point 4. Just watch, you'll see on the HSD down here as we get closer, 1.7 miles away from that position. I'm going to back this throttle off a bit before we run out of gas. Don't need to be going that fast. So there we go. We're now heading towards step point 4. Always close to check your fuel. We've got 4,200 pounds of fuel. Really still going too fast. I want to be cruising at about 350 knots. Okay, so I'm going to speed this up a bit so I don't have to wait. So we're going to hit caps lock. We're in a training mission, so we can do this. We're heading to step point 5. So there's the Kunsan Air Base. Kunsan Air Base over there, I think it is. So we're heading out towards step point 6, and then we'll do a 180 and head back in on the onto the air base again. So what I'm going to do when I get to step point 5, I'm going to take control of the jet. We're about 17 miles out, and we're on 4 times the speed. And what I'll do is once we get there, I'll just take control, and then we'll just cut this corner. We're not going to bother with that other step point. We're just going to go right round, turn right, and line up for an approach. Okay. So here we go. Alright, so I'm going to take over. So I'm going to turn the autopilot off to middle. Just basically switch it to the middle position, and you can fly the jet, do what you want. Okay, so I'm just going to make a bank. I'm just going to change the HUD so I can get a bit of a bank angle. And I'm just heading over to the flight path marker. And so we can get onto that line. Let's speed this up. There we go. Alright, okay, so let's turn on this heading. Okay, so Kunsan Air Base is at step point 8, so we set that to step point 8. We'll be heading in the right direction. Okay, so what you want to do when you're approaching, so we're 51 miles out. If we try to make a call to the ATC at Gunsan, we're not going to be able to communicate with them. So we're too far out, we're 50 miles out. So I'll just demonstrate what happens if you try to. So we're going to say, we need to change back to channel UHF 4. So let's do that. And then we'll hit T, and request unrestricted approach.
Goblin 2, Gunsan approach. You're outside my airspace. Contact me at 30 miles.
Okay, so tell us that we can't, they're not going to give us any instructions until we get within 30 miles. So we're at 47, so let's speed that up. We're going for fuel, 3-3, okay. So coming up on 32 miles, 31, so let's go to normal speed, so 30 miles, should better go, at 30 miles we should better actually do a call now, 29.5 miles out. Okay.
Good morning, Goblin 2-1, Gunsan approach. Continuing down, for straight in approach. Runway 36, welcome back.
Okay, it's given us 2984, so that's the same.
2984.
And hit 1 on the keyboard. We see that's we can see what the TACAN thing is, but the runway is slightly out to the left, so we're going to drop the autopilot again and come in on manual flight control. All right. So let's get ready. So again. So on approach, you really want to be close to 300 knots. Don't want to be 500 knots or anything like that. Get your speed down well before you get within 10 miles of the runway. Let's bring it down. Main reason for that is that if you try to drop your landing gear at 300 knots or over, you can damage it, and it may not may collapse or something may happen on landing. So really want to bring that speed down to under 300 knots before you deploy your landing gear. Right. So I'm going to go now to manual, which is the middle. Get under 300 knots. So as we get closer, let's try and work on getting alignment with the runway. Sometimes you can put the drift thing on, that'll help with aligning. So I'm going to go to the right a little bit. I'm going to turn this helmet mounted command system off because it's just annoying the shit out of me. Okay, that's better. So what I normally do is come down to around about, coming into that about 10-mile mark. I want to be at about 2,000 feet. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, we're coming down to 2,000 feet. Lining up with that runway.
Goblin 2-1, contact tower for landing.
So once it's switched to a different frequency, that's the approach. I can't remember the next channel, which is we're on the approach now. So anyway, preset 3 is what we want to do. So let's go down 1 and request landing. So it's T2 to request landing. So we want to put this flight path marker on the front of the approach.
2-1, Sound Tower. Continuing bound for runway 36. Red words on final.
So we can do the same thing. So we're lined up, we're ready to come in. We're less than 10 miles out. So we're going to do a final call, which is report on final before. And we're going to get our, now our airspeed is down.
Goblin 2-1, Sound Tower. Continuing bound
we can drop our landing gear. So let's go. I don't like to drop the landing gear at about 250 knots, so 250 or less. It's a good speed, no damage. There we go. And the next step is to try and line up the runway and come in with your angle of attack. See those red lights there? You can see 3 red peppy lights out to the left. We want to try and get the perfect nose up attitude when we come in. So it's a little bit tricky. Bit of a crosswind here too, so it's not helping. So I'm heading out to the left a bit. So my normal approach speed would be about 160. A little bit slow, but between 150 and 160 is fine.
Goblin 2-1, Sound Tower.
Air brakes on.
320 at
Slow
7
down.
knots. Runway 36. Clear for landing. Jet gear down.
It's wandering a bit. Must be windy. Anyway, out to the side a bit more. Way off. Okay. 47. And so the trick to landing these things is to try to get the angle of attack to start with, and then just before you hit the runway you just want to flare a little bit. Meaning just pull the nose up towards the end of the runway. Well, probably doesn't look good, but oh shit. So here we go. I'm just going to pull this around. Okay, just pull that around. And, just touch it down gently. A little bit rough, but good enough. Okay, use my rudder to center it. Wheels still in the air, you can see that. And use the wings to slow you down. Okay. Brakes, just brake them gently. Just pump the brakes. Okay, nose wheel steering on. safe landing. So we want to switch to UHF preset 2, which is the ground channel, and just request a taxi back to the ramp.
Goblin 2-1, taxi to the ramp. Echo Papa Charlie 05.
Okay, so we can go back to the ramp, but I'm just going to park it here, I think. Be easier. Okay, so there we go. Ramp start, takeoff and landing, all done. So put the chocks on. Throttle back to cutoff, and that should close everything down. Alright, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed that.